Really, what we're going to learn here is that zero energy from a residential standpoint um, is happening everywhere, and it can be done. And we hope to show you that so that you can be encouraged to take new or existing homes, multifamily, single family, through that. And so this is one of the most robust residential zero energy inventories out there. We're going to talk about that. So real thanks to our top tier sponsor, Mitsubishi. They provide heating, cooling, filtration all in one. Today's low load homes require right sized equipment. Most systems, especially a lot of gas fired, just can't get that low. Mitsubishi has low load, high efficient heat pumps that dehumidify and cool in the summer and work in reverse to heat in the winter. Going ductless also reduces costs and helps you achieve Energy Star and LEED certification. Ductless mini splits can now be hidden in many different ways to meet your client's needs. Ducted systems can be used as well. The ducted systems are hidden behind the walls to ensure a beautiful space and can be, the ducted systems are retrofitted right in place to replace existing gas furnaces. Set your system to dry mode when cooling is not needed to help remove excess humidity. Each room of a house can customize comfort with mini splits while still being all electric and energy efficient for clients with different needs who only need to heat and cool certain rooms. One thing I want to do is encourage you to take it from me. We had one of these installed and got hit with the lowest temps ever in February during that Texas issue. And I'm still alive here to tell you that it works. We know these systems work in the coldest of cold weather. Multifamily and commercial centralized variable refrigerant flow VRF systems work on larger projects looking to serve whole buildings. MitsubishiComfort.com, go check them out. Thanks to our second tier sponsor, Great Lakes Passive House Supplies. They really offer a simple concept, frost protected shallow foundation ICFs and an air heated radiant slab system. Also help protect against radon in a passive way. Contact Eldon over at totalicf@gmail.com. All right, well, I have totally missed a slide here today, so that's okay. I'm excited to invite back Aaron Smith for our webinar. He joined us for our Net Zero conference last year in October, so I'm real excited to have Aaron back. He is the CEO of Energy and Environmental Building Alliance, or otherwise you may know them as EBA, and the board treasurer for Team Zero, which jointly represents a community of over 70,000 builders and their stakeholders across North America who are the early adopters and innovators in driving sustainable transformation of the home building industry. Aaron has over 25 years of experience in home construction, building products, sustainability, nonprofit board leadership, and he has worked for companies including Kohler, Upner, ASSA, ABLOI, I don't know how to pronounce that one, and startups in Silicon Valley as far as building and remodeling. And so, Aaron, we're really excited to have you back on our series. Thanks for joining us and telling us a little bit more about the net zero inventory. So please do take it away.
Great, Brett. I just want to thank you for having me and thank you for the partnership with Green Home Institute, which we value highly. So let me share my screen and move some stuff around and do this now. And then we should be in presenter slideshow mode. There we go. Brett, are you seeing me all right?
Perfect.
Great. Okay, well, welcome everyone. We'll go through, I think we'll do a little bit more of state of the zero energy home across North America, but we'll focus on the inventory and some of the other tools that you can take a look at. I did want to start off with kind of so you can level set of where my belief is as a leader of EBA and Team Zero, but this is an editorial that I just did that appeared in Morning Consult, and really talking about with electric cars rolling that Washington, D.C. should now turn to electric homes. And I think we're really poised for that shift in the marketplace today, and there's a lot of great reasons for that. So we always start off with what is a zero energy home? And we know, and Brett, I just saw your post on your house getting very, very close to net zero. My house is the same way. I've got 14.4 kilowatts of solar on the house. This is not my house, by the way, but a zero energy home is capable of producing as much energy as it uses over the course of a year. But what I'd encourage people to think about is I think that we're at a point where we're going beyond that, and I call it triple zero. So it's zero energy, zero carbon, and what we mean by that is potentially no fuel emissions in that home, and then striving towards zero health impact. So that's kind of the triple zero that we're taking a look at, that we're educating the marketplace on, and moving forward with. And by the way, happy to take any questions throughout. So if you have questions, just put those in the chat section, and Brett will get those to me by popping back on. So thank you for that. So I do want to talk too that climate-friendly housing popularity growth is increasing exponentially among millennials and Gen Z. And Gen Z is kind of the 24 and under generation. The millennials are the 25 to 34. And we're just seeing a huge, huge increase in what their expectation is. And that may be more of the driver for people deciding to go to a zero energy home. This is an article that I pulled out of Forbes magazine of how millennials are revolutionizing the home buying process. And the quote that I thought was most relevant to this discussion today is that home buying behavior of millennials continues to change. Millennials are environmentally conscious, are seeking energy conservation, open spaces, walking trails, and sustainability in their home choices. The millennials are as big, or if not bigger, than the baby boomer population, and they are going to be your customers. So if you're not today thinking about building for this cohort and how they want to have homes, we certainly, through Green Home Institute and EBA and Team Zero, encourage you to take a look at that. So what are the aspects of best zero energy homes? And there's many different aspects, but I do think that there's kind of a recipe for zero energy homes that we're starting to see. And of course, it's solar, it's battery storage. And Brett, I don't know if you have battery storage yet in your house, but it's something that I'm looking at for my house. But that really makes you off-grid capable. And batteries are coming into parity with whole house generators. It's, of course, a sealed building envelope. It's combustion-free HVAC and appliances on the zero carbon side. It's a balanced ventilation system. It's, of course, high performance insulation, and it's great air purification systems throughout the home. So that's kind of what we're seeing across the inventory and across EBA Team Zero case studies. And there's a ton of interest. Brett, you led with the Mitsubishi Electric and the Hyperheat product that they have. I think that everyone realizes that heat pumps, instead of being 98% efficient, being able to have that 3.5 coefficient of performance, where every dollar you put in, you're getting $3.50 back out, is really a game changer. We see these used broadly in Europe and Asia, and they're just starting to come and really gain traction in the United States, but many, many other great cutting edge products that are driving into the market. So I want to take each of you through. This is a remodel that was in the EBA Team Zero inventory. And I want to just give you a little bit of a tour on this house. Obviously an old colonial style house. It's in South Norwalk, Connecticut, and some key components that they did to achieve, and this is a zero carbon house. So I think one of the most compelling things is the homeowners actually returned their gas meter to the utility. And it is actually hard to get hooked up to natural gas in Connecticut. I used to live there, and the utility couldn't actually figure it out. But I'll give you a couple of the high points of this house. So it has a home energy rating score of -3. 0 would be a net zero home. They utilized aero barrier air sealing. So this is that sealing that goes into the environment of the home. You have a blower door actually overpressurizing the home, and it seals every crack. I think for a really old home built in the 1920s, they were able to get their air changes down around 1, which is pretty powerful. They have Tesla battery power walls. I think they did 2 25 kilowatt power walls in the house. They of course have solar on the rooftop. Brett, sometime I'll share a picture of my house with everybody, but I think on more traditional homes, the all black solar and really in a rectangle really is a nice aesthetic look for the home. They actually removed a dormer on the front of this house to get as much solar as possible. They did double pane windows, and this house is completely combustion free, which is really incredible. So the ability to do it from a renovation or new home perspective is there today. We're seeing it in houses featured in case studies in the inventory. And if you would like to watch, we have a 1-hour webinar talking with the homeowners on how they executed this, but you can view that webinar at the EBA Academy. Brett, I'll just check in really quickly. Any questions thus far?
Well, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Cool. So I was going back to your other thought. Well, actually, let's take this one because you just showed it. Can you say that again? I mean, you can have a net zero home with double pane windows. I thought you had to have triple pane windows.
Yeah, I always tell people, buy the best window you can afford.
Right.
It would be great to get triple pane windows. I think a lot of people know that. But in the webinar that we did with the homeowners, they actually talked about kind of creating this decision tree analysis for every part of what they did in the home. One of the homeowners is an energy rater, the other is a sustainability consultant, and they kind of walked through, what do we have for budget? What's the best use of that budget? How is it going to impact our energy model? How is it going to impact our HERS rating? And they just made that trade-off, Brett, where double pane, it gets us a good enough energy envelope, it gets us good enough tightness on the home, and it still gets us to zero energy. So great question.
The other question that came in here is, and so we don't want to get too far down because you have a resource on your website for this, and we'll share that with everybody afterwards. But what was the size of the PV array on there, real quick, if you know?
Yeah, I have to look back at the video, and maybe Luden, you can put it in the chat, but I want to say it was maybe 10 kilowatts, somewhere around there. But Luden, if you could add it to the chat, that would be fantastic.
I'm going to guess 7.3.
Let's add the chat.
I don't know. I'm just guessing, so I don't know. That's where I want to plant my flag in there. We'll have everybody guess. Send in your answers.
Okay,
but,
price is right rules though. If you're over, you're out. You have to be under and closest to it.
All right, fair enough. Yeah. And then I wanted to go back to your survey and sort of the age range target market.
Yeah.
One of the things, at least initially, and still to this day, that we see is retiring baby boomers who want to build their forever home and make it net zero, whatever, because it's the right thing to do. They want to undo all the damage. I've heard somebody tell me that I want to undo all the carbon damage I've done, make it net positive. And we're still seeing a lot of, they have a lot of cash too. So do you think though that's still the case right now, or that's going to quickly shift, or it'll be both, I guess? Do you see that out there at all, or any of your surveys?
Yeah, there's definitely some of that. I mean, my parents are in that baby boomer, and I think that many of them kind of grew up. Earth Day was founded by those folks. It's just so much more prevalent in the millennial and Gen Z. Mm-hmm. Those folks all grew up with kind of expecting sustainability. Some of their favorite brands are sustainable. So where it might be a choice for older generations. It is an expectation for younger generations. I think that's the key difference in the survey.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, oh, you bet.
Oh, and we got the number. The number is officially 8.6 kW, SunPower 360, and a 27 kW battery backup. That's huge. So
Yeah,
there you go.
yeah, great. Thank you for that, Ludin. Okay, so that's the renovation. Let's talk about the state of the zero energy home industry. And what I'll do is I'll take you through the inventory, and this includes findings from nearly 28,000 zero energy housing units all across North America. We've really started to look at this by what are the top cities, what are the top states, who are the top builders, who are the top architects, and it is probably the most comprehensive inventory today. You mentioned our friends, Brett at Earth Advantage. So we're working on kind of sharing the data between the Earth Advantage database and the EBA Team Zero database and with some others, and really trying to get to kind of a complete accounting. So 28,000 is great. It was great growth over our previous survey in 2018. We ended up doing a 1920 survey because of COVID, and we saw about 26% growth on zero energy projects. And these are projects that are in the design phase, the construction phase, or are at the completed phase. So great growth overall, a great number of units, but let's dive into the data a little bit more on the report. So I wanted to kind of personalize some of the data for Michigan and pull out the top builders, architects, and energy raters from Michigan that appear in the database. And we're seeing, it could be Moeller or it could be Mueller, depends on your pronunciation, but I think it's Moeller Builders, Thrive Collaborative, Endura Performance Homes, Smith Group Architectural, so architects can load projects into the inventory as well, and then Architectural Resource. So those are some of the top green building practitioners that we're seeing in the state of Michigan. And by the way, if you're not on here, again, you can go into the inventory, you can create a listing, you can upload your home as a homeowner, as an architect, designer, as a builder, and energy raters can upload as well. So we're happy to showcase those projects nationally, and that doesn't cost you anything. So what we see in Michigan, and I had to go through and kind of, we've got as robust data as we can get from people. We're making more and more of that data required, and you'll kind of see that called out in the data. But right now we have 1,500 total projects in Michigan. The top builder in Michigan is Thrive Collaborative and has over 800 projects in the inventory. So that's really fantastic. We also have a directory of zero energy home professionals. So I zoomed in on Michigan here, and what we want to do is share with Green Home Institute, to share with Earth Advantage, to share with everyone across North America, and start to point homeowners or builders or architects to people that are in the ecosystem of zero energy and can help them execute a zero energy home. So this would be a list of builders, architects, designers, and energy raters today that you can turn to for help. Our next step is to include a list of subcontractors. So Brett, you showed the Mitsubishi as one of the headline sponsors, but we would like to have the HVAC contractors who are certified to high performance HVAC for zero energy houses listed in the database, because I think we all know that not every HVAC contractor is familiar with heat pumps or with an ERV or with some of the new technologies that we're seeing in zero energy homes. So we'd kind of like to curate that ecosystem of HVAC contractors, of solar subs, of battery storage subcontractors, of everything that you need to bring together a zero energy ready home. You can receive a free listing in the Zero Energy Home Professional Database. And I think Luden or Gabrielle can put the link to those locations within the tool.
Aaron, you had mentioned having the certified contractors, but especially in the HVAC world, we know there's a lot of great certified contractors who don't do a lot of great work, and vice versa. Have you thought about maybe having it set up so that they're the ones who are listed are the ones who've actually achieved, you know what I mean, the goals, or been involved in the project?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So we are creating a high performance HVAC contractor designation within EBA.
Oh, we'll have you back in for that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll definitely share that with our friends at Green Home Institute. And what we want to see, and we've partnered with some of the great ones at the manufacturing level. So Mitsubishi and Panasonic and Aprilaire and Broan-NuTone, they want their contractors trained as well. So I think we'll have a designation for HVAC contractors so that they understand building science, they understand health and wellness in the home, they understand the type of tools that they can offer in the package, they understand empathic listening skills with a builder or homeowner, or for renovation and repair, so that we can move people to zero energy, zero carbon, zero health impact homes and have that support from the HVAC contractor as well.
Yeah, that's huge. Thanks for clarifying that. So.
Oh, you bet. And I'll talk a little bit about one of the new courses that we've got positioned for that. So, you definitely can join the EBA Team Zero inventory and the directory of professionals. Brett and I have talked about, we're happy to share this broadly. I think we have 3 different websites today that offer the inventory on their web page. Once you enter your inventory, we'd love for you to submit a case study and share with others. What we really believe, and Brett, you guys do such a great job of this, is one of the biggest things with adopting solar is that I put solar in my neighborhood, and Brett, your neighborhood's probably like this, and 3 of my neighbors put solar in. So that power of community, that power of our neighbors, that power of being able to share with each other through case studies and best practices, we think will be one of the most powerful drivers of zero energy homes. So love to encourage people to do that. And we're always happy to feature those case studies on our national webinar and podcast series. So
just don't put the solar on the north side of your home in this climate. If you're trying to show it off, you're just doing yourself a disservice. We've had to talk someone out of that one before. So
yeah, and those are the types of things that I think within the community we all need help on. Hey, I mean, it's probably obvious to you and me, Brett, that you put solar on the south side, but it's not to everyone, right? So I do want to show a case study that we had from Thrive Collaborative. This is their Mission Zero house in Ann Arbor. So this is the definition. I mean, Brett, I know you're working toward net energy generation on your home. I'm doing the same for my home. But this was designed and energy modeled to 8,535 kilowatt hours per year. The actual energy usage was really close to that. The energy use intensity was 19.72. The annual energy production actuals was almost 9,000. So this is a net zero, but actually a slightly net positive net generator of energy. So this is definitely possible in Michigan. I'm even a little bit colder than you here in Minneapolis, and I am currently building an electrified decarbonized home in climate zone 6. So this is easy to do. It's very reasonably priced nowadays, and it's happening in all of our neighborhoods. So one thing in our data from the inventory is that multifamily units dominate across North America. So of the 28,000 projects that are in the most recent survey, almost 21,000 of those are multifamily high-rise. And I think that's really an incredible number. One of the reasons I showed, so where did millennials live the past 5 or 10 years or 50 or 12 years? They lived in multifamily housing. What did they demand? They demanded net zero energy units. They demanded sustainability in where they lived. And builders and developers responded to that. And I think as you see those younger generations coming in, you're going to see more units in single family, multi-unit projects. You're going to see more units in single family homes. But I would say the other part of this data point is we're not even scratching the surface of the total number of zero energy units in the inventory. I think it's a great snapshot, but we want to encourage people to put their projects in, to share their success stories, to share their path to zero energy. Okay, and as I looked at the data for Michigan, one thing we realized is there's some miscategorization that actually caused Michigan not to appear in the top 10. And we've gone back and corrected some of that with Thrive Collaborative. But if you have a house currently in the inventory, you can go in with the address or your project ID number. You can take ownership of that. You can publicize it or mark it as private, and you can correct any data or update any new data. We'd love to see you update energy use intensity data to see if you're a net producing house over time. But the top 10 states and provinces as they are today are California, which makes a lot of sense with where codes are going now in California, New York, Ontario, Arizona, which we see a ton of solar and battery deployment across Arizona builders right now, and then Colorado, Michigan, kind of tied at that number 5 spot. So some of the previous Michigan products were miscategorized, and we're now fixing that in the inventory. And again, I think I've talked enough about submitting your project. I do want to talk about the gateway to zero. So I refer to this as the EBA pathway to zero or the Team Zero gateway to zero. But on our website, we've created an overview of, how do you go from code minimum to high performance to zero energy ready, or in the case of Green Home Institute, zero energy capable homes, to zero net energy, to zero net carbon, to net positive carbon, to zero embodied carbon. And we did partner with Sam Rashkin at the Department of Energy to put this together. We tried to include all of the programs that we knew about across the nation. But one thing that we can do, and Brett and I have talked about this, is add the Green Home Institute certifications. So the GHI Zero Energy Capable certification, as well as the GHI Green Star certification. And it should be in the inventory now, where if you're zero energy capable and you've received your certification, you should be able to drop down and enter that certification program into the inventory, upload your project, the same with Green Star certification. So we're happy to add those and look forward to doing so. So this is a little bit on the zero energy capable certification, and Brett is probably better served to talk about this than me, but the requirements is the model must show zero or negative energy annual usage, as we saw from the house in Ann Arbor. And it's certified by one or more of the following programs. So the Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design program, the DOE Zero Energy Ready Home program, Passive House, and there are several others that that qualify as well. Brett, any comments there?
No, I know you pretty much got that one right. I mean, we try to keep it as simple as we can, but also ensuring that there's sort of a borderline green program. Green Star is another one of them that's been met, so that it's not just a house that's super efficient but has lots of health problems potentially, which most people aren't going to do that, but that we just want to make sure that sort of bare minimum sort of green items are met.
No, I mean, Brett, I think you bring up an important point, because some of us are just looking for a solution, and we think, well, if I build with structural insulated panels and I put a ton of solar on my roof, I can just overwhelm it and I'm going to be net zero energy. But the building physics, the building science is so important when we get to these super insulated, airtight homes that there's not just one or two silver bullets. It's really understanding how the house works with all of the systems. So the need for fresh air ventilation, for an energy recovery ventilator, for air purification systems, for sensing systems in the house that are smart and can manage VOCs or manage humidity, all of those things are really important to come together. And I think when you certify to LEED or DOE or Passive House, or it could be the Green Star program, you're getting that holistic approach to building science. And we love all of the programs. Many of our builders, they pick the program that might be best for their area, but we encourage people through to get third-party certification. And I'll talk about that a little bit in the end. Go ahead, Brett.
And maybe you're going to get to this, so I don't want to steal it from you, but and there's a great question that came in here, and how does combustion and gas or burning wood fit into this conversation?
Yeah, it's a great. Let me just click here because I think I've got a slide. I'm going to click ahead. So within the inventory, we do look at fuel type. And if you think about that, we're now making fuel type mandatory in the inventory, because if you look at the number of projects that told us their fuel type, we know that 67% in there, or 287 projects, are all electric. 105 were natural gas, 4% were wood, 3% were propane, had some geo, and you could have a mix of these. So the Zero Energy Ready Home program, it doesn't require all electric homes. I mean, you could use wood, you can use natural gas, you can use propane. But I think part of what I'm talking about, what we're seeing, is we're starting to see more and more houses go to that complete electric off-grid capable home. And maybe if we tie that back in, Brett, to our conversation, when I talk about zero health impact, if you're doing combustion in the home, and I think some of you saw the series that we just did on induction cooktop versus gas cooktop, it's about the health impact to the family in that home. Combustion at the site can be about health impact for the neighborhood. It can be about health impact for the community. So I think we're starting to see this shift toward looking towards zero carbon fuel types because of the cumulative health impact that it can have on the environment. So Brett, did that help answer?
Yeah, I mean, they had a very specific question, but I sort of broadened it a little bit, which I think was important. But I'll kind of get to their specific question, which was about our program, but then just reference all these programs we talked about. Some of them allow gas and some of them don't. Like you had mentioned, Zero Energy Ready, they're really just looking at that energy score, right? And if it's ready for solar. Our program and LEED do allow for gas. Within it, if you one of the, and as far as especially our program goes, one of the issues is it depends on where you're located. In Michigan, you're not allowed to oversize your solar array to make up for your gas usage. So you're just not legally allowed to be net zero then with gas. But in other states, like with SRES markets or your state, Aaron, I know they pay you a lot to oversize, so you so you're lucky. So in those cases, you could achieve it with gas. So it really, it does. And then if you want to achieve Green Star Platinum, no gas is allowed either. So that's another thing to consider. And then Passive House has certain variations of gas versus no gas, and living buildings like no
Yeah.
combustion. So
Yeah.
anyway, those are all the programs out there. They have different, but I think they are, and we're looking at removing it soon enough because I think, just a lot of people aren't using it. So
That's right. And Living Building Challenge is the most stringent. They don't allow gas at all. But what we're seeing at EBA Team Zero across North America is states and municipalities starting to move beyond zero energy, where you could qualify with gas or propane or wood, to concerns about air quality, and moving to that next step beyond zero energy, which is zero carbon. So that's where I'm not burning any carbon fuel source. The house is all electric. I do have enough solar to completely offset that. But again, I want to follow the building physics. I want to build it tight. I want to ventilate it right. I want to make it as energy efficient as possible, and then just add a smaller amount of solar to supplement that.
yeah, well, I'm glad you're saying that because there's a couple more questions in here that are sort of taking us like really down a rabbit hole of certain products. So there's all sorts of sessions, I think, between GHI and EBA that can answer some of these questions, I think, that you guys should check out. But just taking a step back, on which product to choose, I mean, are you seeing that energy modeling, really using that model to make that informed design as one way that these teams are achieving that, or is that what's being shared in the stories you're seeing?
Absolutely. And let me switch. Let me go to, I've got a great slide here that I want to share with you. I thought it was really good from a overall, like what is the path to zero, right? So Brett, you probably know this house. It's the Kuntz residence in Michigan.
No,
And
no, that is actually in Georgia.
it is,
Yeah,
darn it.
you might think if I post about a net zero house with trees around it that it's in Michigan.
I
That's
did.
probably a good bet. But yeah, no, that one that one's in Georgia. That's the CEO of Mitsubishi. He's down in
That
Georgia.
is. Yeah,
Yep.
that's the CEO of Mitsubishi's house. I apologize. I don't think he lives in Michigan, but I'll go with it. Uh, but what I want you to consider is kind of walking through these bullet points and how that walks through the path to zero. So we have a HERS energy score on the home. What that tells me is this house had an energy rater. They did a manual J of all of their loads on the home, right? They did a complete engineering plan. They did a blower door test. They had a really tight envelope. They had quality assurance and quality control from having an energy rater on their team. I would tell people that one of the first things you do is get a really good quality energy rater on your team. Make sure that they're doing the mechanical system, that they're sizing it correctly, that they're using whatever technology is best for you. I think there are certain technologies that we're seeing used every time. Again, here's a house that has PV on it. It's got heat pump technology. I think that this person probably used Mitsubishi, but there are others.
Never know.
You've got an energy rater on your team. The next step that we walk our builders through at EBA is, okay, let's get you to Energy Star Homes. Let's meet that next threshold. The next home you build, you're going to get Energy Star certified. That's not that hard anymore. But it's a great next step. The next step after that can be Indoor Air Plus certified. We have the new Indoor Air Plus version 2.0 that's coming out shortly, but Indoor Air Plus is a next great certification program. And you'll also start to really have to put some metrics in around building that healthier home, taking care of ventilation, doing energy recovery. That's great. The step after that could be the Zero Energy Ready, the DOE Zero Energy Ready Certified Home Program, or the Green Home Institute Zero Energy Capable Program, or there are other programs as well. But that's a great step. Then I see people going to, okay, let's do the new LEED net zero. Let's do NGBS net zero. Let's do passive home. Let's do Living Building Challenge. Wherever your interest lies, you can really move beyond that. But yes, Brett, back to your question, it all starts with great energy rating, great modeling of the home, a great understanding. I mean, you never want that penalty for oversizing your mechanicals in the home, but you want them to be just right.
Yeah, so you all, I think you offer the HERS Associate trainings, or you used to at one point. Is that a good place for people who are sort of non-HERS raters, don't know a HERS rater, to sort of start to understand how that tool can help them out?
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't have an understanding of the home energy rater and how they can help you, but if you also want just great, solid building science, EBA offers the HERS Associate designation, which I just took, and I actually hosted it, but then I took it after because, as you know, Brett, sometimes hosting, you miss some of the details. But it is just a phenomenal comprehensive building science, how the energy rating scores work, how that benchmarks, how an energy rater can help you, what type of oversight they have in that industry. And then I think the next course that people can look at is a site supervisor designation. That's a little bit more of the on the ground. And I think I would find it great as a homeowner. It's like, what are the 20 things that you need to lay eyes on when you're building a zero energy home that are the most critical to really achieving a great quality build? Then you can go to Houses That Work course, which is Gord Cook right across in Toronto, and his education around all the building science, all the best practices. We have a new high performance mechanicals course, and on and on. So you can achieve a zero energy building professional certification at the end of the day, and that's my personal goal, is to get to that designation.
Yeah. So a lot of great resources there at EBA. Getting back to your tool inputs and where you kind of put in information like heating. One of our members, Debbie here, who's building tons of passive solar stuff. Great work. We know passive solar, even up here in Michigan, we know it can work in the dead of winter to do a lot of good. Is that something that you can input in your checklist? Is passive solar being a means to heat, or?
I'd have to check on that, and maybe Ludin, you can take a look. We are updating the questions that we ask, because I think one of the things we asked was, do you use solar thermal? And that wasn't always a great strategy across every house. So we are starting to incorporate, are you using heat pumps? Are you using induction cooktop? What are the different strategies that you're using? But your solar thermal, or your passive thermal loading of your house, should show up in your energy model, right? So I think
Yeah, you would hope so.
Yeah, I'd hope so. So some of that energy model data you'll be able to put into the tool, but it should reflect in the overall energy model.
Right, thanks.
Yeah, well, that's great. Okay, so we talked about this home in Atlanta, Georgia, which is great. Easier in Georgia, what, climate zone 3 down there?
Yeah, it's something depending on where you're at, I think 2 or 3, right?
Yeah, 2 or 3 by the ocean up in, but still not difficult for those of us in climate zone 5 or 6. Here's another great one, and Brett, you know a lot about this, but this is the GHI Green Star certified, and it is this beautiful old Victorian home. So I just wanted to bring up for people, like Brett and I are both on the journey for making our homes net zero. Here's a net zero Victorian. It's LEED Platinum pending. It's Green Star Platinum pending. It's the International Living Future Institute, which is the Living Building Challenge. They are going for their zero energy certification. They are going for their zero energy capable certification from GHI. And this was the 2017 Zero Energy Hero Award. So this is not, we've showed you 2 really old houses, one in Connecticut, one in Michigan, that are both absolutely incredible. Brett, do you want to add any comments about this project?
Yeah, I was I was on a Facebook Live tour of 20 homes back in 2017 or 2016, and I had the pleasure to join Stuart here, who, by the way, he is, just so you all know, I believe he's got 100 hats that say net zero on them. And he's giving them out to people who achieve net zero. So maybe, Aaron, maybe you already got him to give them all away, but I know that was one of his things to do. And so he's great. And the architect, Mark Sloot, one of our members, we got to tour the whole house, walk through the whole thing, kind of they had the wall assembly. So they used, sort of the exterior insulation strategy, kind of perfect wall-ish kind of concept, even for a renovation. So you kind of get to see, even though the walls were all closed up when we got there, you kind of get to see behind the wall. And so I'm actually posting a link to it. And you will have to bear with me because this was back in the super old days when I went around with an awful iPhone on bad reception recording. So if you can forgive the sound quality, hopefully you can learn something and have a good time. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, it's just a great project. I wanted to highlight it and highlight the great work. So again, just to look at the EBA Team Zero inventory of zero energy homes, we look at the zero energy ready home programs. That's kind of the bottom tier. It is self-reported, but we're looking at zero energy ready, and that kind of benchmark is that home can supply 90% or more of the annual energy demand. Then we look at a zero energy home, which is supplying 100% or more of the annual energy demand, and then start to look at a net producer score. So there are some rating systems that are starting to go to net positive, where the home is always returning energy to the grid, always produces more than it consumes. And right now, ILFI, which is Living Building Challenge, has that net positive energy program. And it's just a fantastic program. Of course, again, just a reminder, they do zero carbon allowance in that ILFI program. But you'll have a drop down. You'll be able to put the Green Home Institute programs into that drop down if you decide to enter that. Here's our mutual friends out at Earth Advantage. They have their net zero and net zero ready home program as well. Sounds like you'll hear more about that last week, which is great. And don't forget, ask them about out in their territory in the Pacific Northwest. Actually, the MLS requires energy data on the homes, which I think is transformational for them. So again, you can see in their green building registry, wow, there's, I want to buy this house. What's the energy used like? It's horrible. It's going to cost my family a lot of money. The total cost of ownership is too high. A big part of this zero energy is the long-term affordability of these homes. If you know your total cost of ownership and you don't have the fluctuation of, those of us that are on propane, I'm not on propane, but propane has fluctuated radically. Natural gas is cheap. Electricity, if you were in Texas a couple weeks ago, your electricity fluctuated in a huge manner. So some of it can be that total cost of ownership. It can really add to the affordability of homes. And these are really the tiers: zero energy ready, zero energy, net producer. And then I would add, going to that next step of zero carbon in some of these homes, and you can see the different rating systems there. And of course, our biggest goal is to take into account all the building science and make sure that we're doing zero health impact and delivering as healthy of homes as possible. Brett, any questions there? So Brett and I talked about oh, go ahead, Brett, sorry.
Well, I was going to say there's no questions. Somebody chimed in and said they found that the HERS associate was super informative. So thank you for saying that. And then, again, somebody just stressing that if you can add passive solar features for the people down south, especially who are using a lot more of that, highly encouraging you to do so. And they even mentioned that PV watts may be able to be used to quantify passive solar, which is kind of news to me, but check that out, everybody, if you're looking for ways to design passive solar. It's not, I know it doesn't fit in the models so neatly. And some HERS raters probably are like, I don't want to touch that. But so always great if there's resources out there for it.
Yeah, there's a builder in Toronto named Doug Terry, and he talks a lot about how the Enercan, which would be like our Energy Star rating for Windows, how actually in Toronto, which would be a good proxy for a Michigan market, is, we want more passive solar through the windows. We want good eaves that are protecting those windows from sun in the summer. But as that sun drops, to the low horizon in the winter, we want to take advantage of that and let more heat into the space. So yeah, no, it's great feedback. Thank you for that. So Brett and I talked about the Academy, the EBA Team Zero Academy. We've got 160 hours of learning there. Really, I think some of those specific questions that you wanted to learn about, whether it's heat pumps or induction cooktops, or there's a course in the bottom left that's the cost-effective path to healthy, affordable net zero housing with the DOE's Zero Energy Ready Home program. There's a course we see from Indoor Air Plus. There's just a lot of great courses. There's a lot of great continuing education credits that you can earn there. If you're a member, you receive a lot of the courses at no charge. This is kind of showing some of the non-member rate, just to pay for our costs on some of that. So that is a great resource for you if you want to dive in more. I did want to talk about the Healthier Homes Awareness for Building Professionals course. We had our builder community come to us and say, we want something that goes beyond an understanding of Indoor Air Plus. And what we want to do is we want to merge the medical science with the building science. So we actually worked with Allergy Standards Limited out of Ireland, who is one of the preeminent medical science professionals on asthma and allergy, and really use that as a proxy for what things do you have to look out for on asthma and allergy. How does that impact coronavirus and indoor air quality? What are the in-home triggers? And then we've have our EBA trainer, Gord Cook, going into how the construction industry is responding and the building science behind delivering healthier homes. And then in the commercial opportunity, it's really that empathic conversation with a homeowner, and it could be for an HVAC contractor or for a builder or for an architect. But if my kids have asthma or allergy, or I'm interested in a healthier home, or I want better air filtration, what things do I need to do? The biggest surprise I had, Brett, was when I took this course, I realized I was doing a lot of things as a builder that I wasn't taking credit for that could help with a healthier environment. And it could have been no added urea formaldehyde, or meeting CARB 2 compliance, or selecting products that were didn't have VOCs in them. So I think it's a really great course. We hope this is something that people will enjoy and will be helpful to them, from real estate agents, model home professionals, the builders, architects, designers, and the subcontractors.
Yeah, when I bought my house, which was built in 2003, I first immediately opened the cabinet like I would do and look for a sticker, right? The CARB cabinet smart sticker, the low, and sure enough, there it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, I bet the builder, the person selling me the home, didn't tell me that they had low formaldehyde cabinets. Nobody had any clue. It's almost like you have to go out of your way not to get those anymore, but they're worth talking about. I mean, it's just one example. So
no, I think that was the biggest surprise, Brett, is builders wanted to be really careful of, remember the old days we talk about greenwashing? I don't want to greenwash. I want to tell what I'm doing. I want to be very honest about it. But we're kind of at this point now where it could be considered health washing. So again, when you get the medical science, you get the understanding of, these are the things that I could market to my homeowner. These are products that are already proven. This is what I should be looking for in low VOC or CARB 2 compliance, which is a California Air Resources Board compliance. These are the great things that we're doing in our home. But we just had another survey with EBA Team Zero to homeowners that have bought high performance homes. And there's a striking thing on the early survey data, Brett, was healthier homes was the number one thing that came back. I mean, it was like, I love the neighborhood the home is in. I love the school district. I love the customization I was able to do the home. And I bought this because it's a healthier home. This is why I wanted it for my family. And again, we see that with millennials. We see that with boomers. We see everybody now is looking for a healthier home. And I think COVID was a big part of that. So please feel free to check that out. And we talked about the all electric homes. And I think we can just open it up to more Q&A if you want to dive more deeply into some of those. But I know we're getting close, Brett. But
Yeah, absolutely. We are 1 minute to the hour, and we do have some questions coming in. We have time to, you got time to hang out and ask some more questions, hang out and answer some more questions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Well, as those are coming in, I just wanted to real quick, for those of you who do need to get going, do feel free to go. You're good to go. You've got your approved for your CU. Go ahead and take that survey when you close out. If you miss the survey, it'll be sent to you from customer care at gotowebinar.com, probably to your spam, and you can go in there and take it in there and pick it up. Even if you don't need your CUs, please do take it. And if you're watching this in the future on demand, not right now, please take the 10 question quiz with an 80% passing rate on our Thinkific channel or USGBC channel or whatever other channel. Make sure to take that quiz and pass the test. And again, a huge thanks to our board of directors, volunteers, our new executive director, and all of our top tier sponsors, Mitsubishi Electric, Build Equinox, and Rheem, among our other sponsors, to allow us to do what we do. Let's see what specific questions there are. I think I had another question on my end too that, oh no, I got that one answered. There were a lot of other technical, well, actually, let me think. This is something you posted last week, and I know we missed it for this, but isn't it true that you have a conduit to Congress in some way, and they're looking for some information from you, or you're just, I guess, just going to give them information, maybe whether they're looking for it or not? What's
Yeah.
going on with that?
Yeah, so I should have put a slide in because it was probably one of the most exciting things, and I think we're all feeling it with the new administration coming in. But DOE was, and that should have been the headline. I'm like, why selfishly do I want you to put your projects in the inventory? And why do I want you to be listed as a zero energy building professional? So we got a call from Department of Energy, and we've been very blessed as EBA to work closely with DOE and EPA and some of the national labs. And they said, hey, we're pulling together a survey for Congress. They're putting together this package in Congress, and they want to know how many shovel-ready zero energy home professionals do we have right now? Mm-hmm. And so we got them all the data that we had currently from the inventory. And then what we thought was the quickest pathway to really get a head count. So we sent out that stand up and be counted. If you are capable of building zero energy houses, please put yourself in, get counted in the census that Congress is doing. I don't know where it goes in Congress. I think they take it to a committee and they say, hey, there's 28,000 projects like this. There's 50,000 professionals. The energy raters are geared up for this. The builders, the architects, everybody's geared to go. And we hope that comes back in support. There is and we didn't talk about some of the support that's there now, but if you're building a new home, there is that 45L tax credit. So when you use an energy rater, that energy rater will get you your certificate that you meet 45L. You'll get currently a $2,000 tax credit, but I think they're looking at increasing that tax credit for energy efficient homes. And there are some other great tax credits as well. So yeah, it was an extremely exciting thing for all of us, Brett. It's one of those where I want everybody to be counted in that. I want our government to understand. That's kind of why I wrote the article that I showed at the beginning is I think we're really close to ready as an industry for this. I think consumers want it. I think that we've got the Department of Energy willing to support it through the current Congress. Let's go.
Mhm. Yeah, it's interesting when you propose the question right at the beginning, getting builders who can build net zero. I mean, I would love to see someone show me that they can't, other than they just, because, I hear it all the time, like, oh, we can't do that. And I'm like, why? And then nobody really seems to know why they can't. They just believe that they can. It seems to be some belief that
No,
something's in the way,
no, you're exactly right. And I mean, I'll take it back to I really don't think people understand that solar is getting to this point of parity where it's maybe the cheapest fuel source in the world. And that you can deploy, depending what state you're in, right? You can deploy, so I mean, my solar I get a 14.4 kilowatt system on my roof.
Mhm.
It cost me $0. The payment was $212 a month. Xcel Energy gave me a $70 a month rebate. My payment on my solar panel is less than my old electric bill.
Mhm.
And last month, I created more energy than I used in the month of March in Minnesota.
Right.
I was net zero energy last month at zero cost with a 0-day payback. The technology is all there to do zero energy. The building science is there. It's some very, and I understand hey, there's a little bit you have to change in your process, but we're at that point where there is not much. It is very executable. And I would tell everybody that if Brett and I can do it, you can do it.
Right.
Right?
Well, and I mean, I in a new construction, I think, it's so easy, right?
Easy.
On existing homes, it's certainly challenging, and it depends on the home and all those scenarios and the funding, um, and that leads me, because we actually decided to, and I don't know how widely I've shared it yet. I haven't released too much, but we decided to throttle back from hitting net zero, and instead aim for trying to help the utilities reduce the peak time.
Mm,
And it's not often that many of us are trying to help the utilities, but I see the value because that costs us a lot of money for those peaker plants.
right.
They use a lot of carbon emissions. And then whatever else we use that's left over, we're buying some carbon offsets from like the utility community solar and just a general renewable energy credit. Are you going to be looking at ways to identify projects that are taking more to some degree, the offset approach? I mean, I saw some of that listed in your Zero Energy Ready, some of those programs, so maybe it's in there, but would you be able to differentiate that? Is there an interest? I know there's a lot of controversy surrounding offsets, especially. I guess I meant to say more RECs, like, hey, if I buy into this community solar program or Block Power, who's doing some amazing stuff, what if I could get offsets from them or whatever, what do you think?
Yeah. Listen, when I first moved to my house, I signed up for wind power. I did 100% wind power at my home. And to me, that doesn't mean that, there's always this argument around net zero. Is the building net zero? Is the property net zero? Or is it net zero in the world? So what would it say when I first moved to this house? I signed up for 100% wind power from, I always want to call them NSP, but now they're Xcel Energy, from Xcel Energy. So I was kind of net zero in the world. But I think the goal is over time to start bringing those boundaries in. And you would say like the ILFI program is going to say it all needs to be on site, right? Or it all needs to be on the house. So that's the goal, but there's no reason that we can't offset. I think the more interesting conversation. So Brett, we just heard Fort Collins, Colorado is going to a code where they're going to require a carbon footprint of the building. So you literally have to figure out that this house, the embodied carbon in this house is 55 kilogram per ton of CO2 equivalent. And then we want you to buy the offset for that to make it a kind of carbon positive house. So there's this other conversation that exists of actually all the energy that went into producing that house, that is the place for natural offsets. But I mean, I think anytime we're buying offsets and helping drive the industry forward, that's a good thing. We could look at it either way, but you've got to check each of the rating system programs, right, Brett? Because they each treat it a little bit differently. And I just know that the ILFI program is not going to let you treat it that way. I'm not certain on how Passive House lets you treat it. No. Oh, you're muted, Brett.
I had no offsets there either, so yeah.
Yeah, so I think that if you look at the industry and where some of the rating systems are going, there you can't just stroke a check to make yourself greenwashed, right? You got to do a little bit of hard work on your site.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. So, there's a good question in here, and actually, I don't think my dad watches these, so I'm going to throw him under the bus too. But for the older generation, who are, and this person individually is told, and I've heard, I'll never make a return on investment by doing this kind of stuff, right? I'll die before I get it, right? What do you say to that?
Well, number one, we wish you the best of health and a long life. And I've had this conversation with my neighbor, and I just want to go back to my solar. I mean, my payback on my solar was $0 because what you're trying to do is take your utility spend, instead of being a renter of your power, become an owner of your power, right? So I went from paying my local utility $160 a month to paying for a solar array for my house with $0 down, $212 a month. Xcel sends me $70 a month because I did it, which brings me to what, $142 a month? So now I am an owner of my power system. We'll have a power system paid off. But we have net metering in Minnesota. Everything that I don't use, I send back to the grid. In the month of March, my utility bill was $0. And then I got a 26% tax rebate from the federal government, which on a 14.4 kilowatt array was substantial. So what was my payment? And I think we all need to look at ROI, right? We're looking at a cheap water heater versus an air source water heater. Okay, and actually in the HERS Associate course, Mike Barsick does a good job of talking about that, ROI. How do I look at this? It's only $82 more. Here's my cost of natural gas. My payback is within 5 years. But I think most companies will tell you if something has a 5-year or less, some companies do 7-year or less payback, it is absolutely worth it. But what it doesn't take into account is the health. So what is the cost, or what's the worth for our dads, Brett, right, of having a really healthy home that doesn't have any off-gassing, that doesn't have any carbon fuel source burning inside the home? I mean, I always joke with Mitsubishi that, I mean, technically you don't need you don't need a carbon monoxide detector in your house. There's no carbon monoxide.
Right.
What's the value of that health? And I think that the health impact, we don't always put that into ROI, but we know, and we get into this in the Healthy Homes Awareness for Building Professionals course, like 7 million people die a year globally from air pollution. Well, that's a huge externality. We don't think about that, but you can make it work just from running a simple ROI. Some technologies have a 0-day payback. I mean, Brett, I think you saw our training. We looked at cold climate heat pumps against propane. And if you are on propane, it's a very, very short payback because propane is out of control. If you're on natural gas, it's tougher. But take a look at it. Look at the ROI. I think it makes sense. And Gene Myers, who many of you know, who's the board chair of EBA, always says, I'm doing a lot of this for my grandkids.
Hmm.
And I always think that's a neat take on it.
Yeah, I try to use that one. Hey, you're gonna give me your house someday, right? I want it to be solar, right? I want it to be ready to go. Like, so if that's what you want to do, and your grandkids to go there, like they need that too. So I think that's a good one to try to use, and I think it's working. I think we're gonna do an assessment soon. So,
Great.
um, so EBA resources, you mentioned listing professionals. Um, someone mentioned here that when they're looking for energy raters, the ResNet website, it's kind of a pay to play thing, and I'm happy to say that out loud, and hopefully someone's listening so they hear me. It's frustrating. So where we have a list of raters that we work with, mostly in the Midwest, is that something that you all have lists as well from an energy standpoint?
Yeah, we're, right now on our directory of zero energy professionals, we are, any energy rater can list. What we're encouraging people to do is go make sure that they're a certified, currently certified energy rater
Right.
from ResNet or whichever body. And so we're going to add a link to go back, check their current certification. But Brett, we have to talk about this, but I think there's a Angie's List type of thing. This is where the community comes in, right?
Mhm.
So I'd like to have this world where we have the directory of zero energy home professionals, and we're like 5 stars for this energy rater. They are absolutely incredible, right?
Yeah, I
And,
agree.
and to me, that's kind of what, I've told Brett a little bit about the sustainable residential construction online community, is that we start to build community around the listings. And just like we do on Google or whatever platform, we're able to say, hey, this is a really quality energy rating. I recommend this energy rater in my area, because there can be a difference. And, I guess the one negative, as you brought up, Brett, is, the energy rater is getting paid by the builder, but there is an energy certifier organization that audits those energy raters and makes sure everything is correct. So you have to know that certification process in place. But, if it was my house, I'd probably hire the energy rater independently, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think,
Yeah.
and we've seen that too. We've seen owners sort of drive their own project, control their own project. So,
Right.
yeah, good point. Well, I know we're a little bit, well, we're at our normal time that we usually get to every week. So I appreciate everyone sticking around, asking questions. But yeah, if people, just as a reminder, if people want to reach out, learn more, plug into a class, get on the database, where's the best place for them to go?
Yeah, I think just go to eeba.org, and you'll see every resource that I talked about there. You can link to the Team Zero webpage. Team Zero webpage is a little bit more set up for consumer audience. We do have our summit coming up in Denver in September. We'd love to invite people to join us there. Lots of great CEUs available. We're going to try for the in-person. We'll see. It's going to be a hybrid event, so you can attend online or you'll be able to attend in person. Brett,
Great.
thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, Aaron, I really appreciate you. I appreciate EBA, and public service announcement to everybody out there. We want to, we talk about health all the time, so we want to see you stay healthy, get vaccinated. Don't forget that second shot. We know that building science, ventilation, air filtration is going to help us get out of this, avoid the next mess, and help us in many other ways. So please help us spread the word about that. And we want to see you all again next week. So bye-bye.
And Brett, you just had your shot. No problems at all.
Yeah, exactly. I'm 24 hours into my shot right now, and I feel great. So don't get scared.
Don't get scared. All right.
Yeah,
Thanks, everyone. Stay healthy.
Yep.
Be sure to check out all of our courses available online that you can watch anytime and anywhere to pick up your CEUs. Before you go, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube to get weekly updates and stay up to date on green building science courses, webinars, and home tours. Thanks again.